Never did I envision that my life would unfold in such a manner. A woman in her mid-40s stands solitary within the confines of a beautiful house enveloped by an overwhelming sense of invisibility. My husband was perpetually absent his business trips. Extended from days into weeks upon his return, his presence seemed to carry the weight of formality, rather than the warmth of a reunion. Our conversation scarcely ventured beyond the realm of trivial exchanges. It had been years since we had shared any semblance of intimacy. I maintained a facade, prepared meals, tidied up, and greeted the neighbors with a smile. Yet within, I was diminishing in the tender embrace of early spring. My husband revealed that he would be departing once more, this time for nearly a month, in odd, feigning comprehension as is customary. I remained silent. I did not engage in that action. I believed I had come to terms with this, or at the very least I thought I had merely a week. After his departure, my stepson Aiden made his way back from college for the much-anticipated spring break. At the age of 22, he stood tall, exuding politeness, and had consistently maintained a respectful distance since his middle school days. I had nurtured him, and thus our relationship had consistently been one of quiet formality. Yet now he stood as a man, and there was a shift in the way. His gaze met mine at the outset. It lacked any sense of impropriety. Yet it was unlike anything else I observed that his gaze held a moment longer than usual. His compliments.
of intimacy.
He said, one morning in the kitchen, his voice imbued with warmth. I brushed it aside with a chuckle, yet my heart fluttered. Our time together began to increase largely by happenstance. He would assist with the groceries, proposed to prepare dinner alongside me, and keep me company during late-night television shows. I attempted to overlook the escalating tension. Yet I was not oblivious each moment. His hand grazed mine each instance he lingered. A fraction too near, I sensed it deeply. As the day drew to a close, we found ourselves on the porch, captivated by the breathtaking hues of the sunset. He expressed his admiration for the way I kept the family united, acknowledging the strength I showed for his father. I found myself at a loss for words. It had been years since I had received such praise. There was a quality to his voice, soft yet sincere, that pierced the barrier I'd constructed around my heart. I gazed at him and perceived more than just my stepson. A man caught my gaze. A man who recognized my existence. That night slumber eluded me. I found myself revisiting our dialogues time and again. His gaze lingered on me, and I found myself rooted in place. Convincing myself it was all innocent, yet beneath the surface I was acutely aware of the deceit I harbored. I understood that this feeling transcended mere loneliness. I'd traversed an emotional boundary that I could no longer ignore. Upon encountering him once more, the following morning, the sight of his smile stirred a sense of unease within me. I found myself yearning for that attention, that intoxicating sensation of being desired, even if it was misguided. After an extended period, I found myself truly awake for the first time, yet a sense of fear lingered within me. I had yet to take any action, but the awareness of my proximity to a pivotal moment loomed large. If an intervention didn't occur, soon I feared I might find it impossible to turn back from the impending storm. It was a Thursday evening when it all unfolded. The silence of the house enveloped everything, and the atmosphere seemed denser than normal. Just as I completed my dinner, the rain began to pour, fiercely accompanied by an abrupt loss of power in the absence of lights, devoid of distractions and with only the flickering glow of candles to provide warmth. The ambiance transformed. Aiden entered the living room. 2 glasses of wine delicately cradled in his hands, he offered it with a gentle smile, as if sensing a need with a moment's pause. I reached for the glass. We lingered in quietude. the sole melody being Thoraine's gentle percussion upon the windows. The wine lowered my defenses. Our dialogue meandered through the corridors, of memories weaving in and out of the tapestry of emotions he shared. His feelings of being adrift, lately expressing gratitude for the comfort of home and the sense of safety he found in my presence, the truth wrapped around me. Like a warm embrace, then he uttered a remark that left me utterly frozen. "It seems you may not fully grasp just how remarkable you truly are." "Do you?" I gazed at him bewildered. Yet he held my stare, unwaveringly. "You are worthy of a person who truly recognizes your essence." He went on, "someone who brings forth the vitality within you." My heart raced with intensity. I felt an urge to brush it aside, to convey that this was not suitable, yet I refrained. I allowed hazards to permeate my thoughts. I found myself yearning for affection, craving validation. In that instant, the identity of the giver became irrelevant. I confided in him that there were moments when I sensed I was disappearing within these walls as if no one truly noticed my presence any longer. He extended his hand toward mine, cradling it softly, and I found myself not wanting to withdraw. It felt utterly instinctive, enveloped insolence, as if we had come to this place, not through our own volition but rather by the inexorable pull of fate. His touch was gentle, it lacked aggression. It was gentle and heartfelt after so long. Finally felt seen, his gaze transcended, mere observation lingering upon me with an intensity that suggested deeper thoughts and unspoken words. They embraced me, occupying the void my husband had long since left behind. Hunched nearer, I ought to have intervened. I did not. Our lips met gentle and unhurried. The kiss spoke, volumes conveying emotions that mere words could never capture. It was neither chaotic nor hurried. It was profound, brimming with the feelings we had long concealed. As it drew to a close, we lingered in silence, each of us acutely aware that we had traversed a line that could not be uncrossed. I rose from my seat, declared my intention to retire for the night, and departed, leaving him in silence. Yet slumber eluded me. My heart pounded with fervor. My thoughts whirled in a chaotic dance I was acutely aware of. The wrongdoing that lay between us, it transcended the mere act of a kiss. It was an act of treachery, not merely of my husband, but of all that I believed I represented. And yet a fragment of my being remained untouched by regret. A fragment of my being, stirred, recognized, and caressed in a manner I had long since forgotten could exist. Words failed me. I had no desire to do so. Yet I was acutely aware that everything had irrevocably changed. A transformation stirred within me, something I could never restore. The following morning I steered clear of making eye contact and navigated the kitchen as if all was well. Yet an undeniable shift lingered in the air. Aidan strolled into the room with an air of nonchalance. Yet I could sense a shift in his demeanor, calm, self-assured, as if a boundary had been crossed and bore no regrets for it. He extended his assistance for breakfast preparations. Inclined my head, my gaze fixed elsewhere. The unspoken tension that lingered between us was palpable, a force that could not be ignored. We chose to remain silent about the kiss. Neither of us mentioned it yet. It lingered in the atmosphere, a secret too pronounced to overlook. I repeatedly reassured myself that it was merely a fleeting instance, a fragile misstep in discernment. Yet Ash's hand grazed mine once more. I remained still as he leaned in just behind me to grab a plate. An involuntary response coursed through my body. Within me, shame and excitement clashed like thunderous waves. Later that day, I noticed him observing me, not casually, but with a deliberate focus. His eyes scrutinized me, examining my face, my movements, every detail, as if it held significance. It had been years since I experienced such a captivating focus, neither from my husband nor from anyone else. It was a mistake. I was aware of the truth, yet I found myself unable to resist the allure of wanting more. Aidan found himself dedicating more hours to the comforts of home rather than the company of his friends. He crafted reasons to linger close, inviting me to movie nights, running errands together, and taking leisurely walks. Our dialogues grew more profound. He inquired about my early years, my aspirations, and the sacrifices I had made throughout the years. I came to understand the extent to which I had concealed my true self in the name of a marriage that offered me no reciprocity. I made an effort to establish boundaries. I expressed to him that this could not persist, that it was perilous and irresponsible. He absorbed the words, acknowledged with a nod, and even offered an apology. In the very next moment, he discovered me in solitude, and with a whisper he confessed that I occupied his thoughts incessantly. He insisted that I was worthy of so much more than being abandoned by a man who remained oblivious to my tears as I drifted into sleep. Each word pierced through the fabric of my being, mending the frayed edges of my soul. One evening he gently caressed my cheek and whispered, "You need not continue the charade. It is permissible to embrace your emotions." More I chose not to respond. I found it unnecessary. The glance I cast his way conveyed everything. The boundary of emotion had been irrevocably breached. The events that unfolded were entirely unanticipated. It was bound to happen. I found myself a stranger. In my own reflection, I found myself a woman caught in the throes of guilt and longing, balancing loyalty with an insatiable yearning to be desired. I reassured myself that I remained in command, that I could halt this before it spiraled out of control. Yet the reality was that I'd already succumbed. And yet I was haunted by the potential repercussions, not merely of being discovered, but of the inevitable moment when he would depart again, when his respite would conclude, and I would find myself solitary. In this house once more, would he embrace this iteration of myself? Ash departs, or would I find myself shattered once more? This moment, born from an irreversible error, marked the conclusion of Aiden's break, and the burden of our actions started to weigh more heavily on us both. In his moments of silence, it was evident his gaze spoke volumes, yet his words remained unspoken. The weight of our silence now seemed to deepen, pressing down upon us with an unspoken intensity. Feeling a sense of guilt, he began to pack his belongings, the intimacy of the moment slipping away. With each shirt I folded, I sensed fragments of my delicate world crumbling away. We had indeed crossed the line, but what lies ahead, we never discussed. What lay ahead, he made no promises, and I refrained from inquiring. I sought no illusions. I had existed for far too long, cocooned in a deceptive sense of safety, alongside a husband who scarcely acknowledged my presence. Yet, this was unlike anything else. It was unrefined, fervent, and misguided, yet undeniably authentic. And now it must come to a close on the eve of his departure. He approached me, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. For the first time since this all began, he made no move to grasp my hand. He gazed at me, as if words were on the tip of his tongue, yet remained unspoken. "I harbor no regrets whatsoever," he spoke softly, "yet I have no desire to disrupt your life." Either inaudible, rendered speechless, my throat, constricted. Uncertainty enveloped me, caught between the pangs of heartbreak and the sweet whisper of relief. As had departed the following morning, I lingered at the door, akin to a strange, observing someone exit her life without so much as a farewell. No farewells, no commitments, merely a fleeting instant, truncated. The house settled back into its silence, yet an unmistakable chill lingered in the air as the day slipped by. My husband reappeared, seemingly untouched by the passage of time. He returned with mementos, tales from conferences, and recounted business negotiations during dinner conversations. He remained oblivious to me, deliberate evasion of his gaze. He remained oblivious to the emptiness that had taken root within me. I had surrendered myself to another body and soul. And yet the truth was visible only to me. Initially, I believed guilt would engulf me, yet what washed over me was a profound sorrow. Not solely for my actions, but for the countless years spent in the shadows, feeling unseen. The treachery extended beyond the mere kiss or the fleeting touch. It was in the moment of understanding that an individual who was never meant to hold significance had perceived me with greater clarity. In just a week, than my husband had in all those years. Aiden sent a brief message. Take care of yourself for hours. I found myself transfixed by it, contemplating every detail before finally mustering the resolve to erase it. I understood that we could not persist, and I was equally aware that returning to the past was not an option I had transformed, and that transformation was irrevocable. Ultimately, I found myself in a marriage that appeared whole on the outside yet was utterly vacant within. I spent my days alongside a man who believed all was well as I bore the burden of decisions that were irrevocable. I found myself unable to reclaim what had been lost, perhaps. The true punishment lies not in the act of being discovered, but in enduring the weight of silence that follows. I discovered that love devoid of attention becomes mere habit, while attention lacking commitment transforms into mere temptation in the midst of it all. I misplaced a fragment of my being that is forever beyond my reach.